Emineth. This is the 12th week of the 68th Legislative Assembly. We're going to shift gears a little bit today. We tend to have legislators on, as we did with yesterday with Senate Leader David Hogue from Minot. Today we're going to talk to Dustin Gawrylow, who's the founder of Policy Matters, and actually put his name in as the city commissioner vacancy fill for the Mark Splinkowski vacancy. And I want to spend a little time talking about the executive branch because of something I heard last night. And I mean, the executive branch matters when it comes to legislative policy as well. So, Dustin, welcome to the show as always.
Nice to be here.
So, I see you put your name in for city commissioner. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year I ran for Burleigh County Commission. I didn't do so well, but I certainly made a lot more contacts with folks that I normally don't coordinate with and that sort of thing. And so when Mark Splinkowski won his county auditor's seat, I kind of knew early on that eventually he was going to have to go full time on that, and now he has. And that is leaving up a opening at the city commission that is going to be a 14-month stint until June of 24, so that whoever gets it has a chance to either run or not run, depending on who they appoint. And so I threw my name in because I've been involved heavily with city commission issues for the better part of a decade. Specifically, I've been on the Special Assessment Task Force for the last 5 to 6 years now, trying to come up with a solution to reform and replace special assessments. I've also been on the Renaissance Zone Authority, which is the committee that governs and passes along suggestions to the city commission when it comes to handing out the Renaissance Zone benefits.
How's it going to be filled? Is it by the commission, or is there a special board that makes that decision?
What we've been told is that the deadline is tomorrow, the 22nd. I applied last week, and I'm expecting that at some point there will be an interview process, probably later this week once all of the applications have come in, and then it's either state law or city ordinance. It requires that if it's going to be filled by appointment, it has to be filled within 14 days. And so by next Tuesday, we're going to have a new city commissioner.
Well, I think in your instance, to be honest with you, I don't know if the board on city commission tends to be more conservative or more moderate or liberal. Splinkowski would definitely be on the conservative side. You would naturally fall in that category. How many people have applied? Are you aware of that number?
The rumor as of last night was that there's over 10 applications in right now. And so I've been chasing my supporter group to put in a good word for me. And a lot of my supporters are supporters of other candidates and some of the sitting commissioners. So I'm hoping that there's some understanding that there's not a critical approach to this, that I'm looking to be constructive on this. I think that because there's only 14 months left and we're going right into the budget cycle, the next commissioner needs to be able to jump in right away day one. They will be appointing on the 28th, and I believe that the new commissioner is expected to be sitting at the table next Tuesday.
Wow, that's terrific. Well, we'll be watching that, and good luck with that. And maybe at the latter part of the show, we may come back and talk about Renaissance zones a little bit, because I know you've written a lot about it. And part of the reason I wanted you on today is I want to shift gears a little bit about the executive branch. I got a message from a friend last night,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some polling going on in Iowa, not North Dakota, in Iowa, and the questions were very specific that seemed to point to, on behalf of Governor Burgum, all kinds of issues about his background and policy positions, et cetera, et cetera. And there's only one reason you'd be polling in Iowa as a Republican. It appears that there's some exploratory work going on for Governor Burgum to take a shot at running for president of the United States. Have you heard anything like that at all?
I had not. I have mentioned kind of in a conspiratorial way over the last couple of years to keep an eye on trips to Iowa, or if money's being sprinkled around, because one of my first jobs in politics was in Iowa in 2006. And I worked managing 3 legislative races in blue districts that they didn't really have a chance, but they needed somebody to do the work. And in the 06 cycle, I learned how that whole process of presidential candidates coming in the midterm prior to the presidential race and sprinkling around money to candidates, to district committees, to special interest groups, and various things like that. And back in the '06 cycle, I remember that the number one donor of a potential presidential candidate in Iowa was actually George Pataki.
Oh,
And
really?
so he really, but he didn't go anywhere in '08. He spent a lot of money trying to prop up his image in Iowa, but it didn't do him much good, I guess. And so, the traditional way to be a player in Iowa is to get in there the midterm of four and start making friends and paying off the people that you need to pay off.
Well, it seems that, historically, governors being an executive running the state, it carries into running presidencies. If you see Ronald Reagan and a number of people that have been governors that have run, Mitt Romney, et
Hmm.
cetera. He didn't win, of course, but you've seen that. And I had said after the 2020 election and President Trump getting beat that I think the tech sector is looking for their guy. And I just said, Doug Burgum might be that guy.
Hmm.
He's articulate, smart, successful in a tech company. He's got money. And North Dakota is kind of coming of age with all the money and the oil. And he's taken some bold statements like the 2030 being carbon neutral in North Dakota, the pipeline for CO2. Those are big, big, bold moves
Hmm.
that I wouldn't necessarily say a governor shouldn't or wouldn't do that. But it seems to me that he's positioned himself and had been to make a run for governor. In light of what I got from the polling, it appears there's something going on.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's made the right friends. Obviously, he's got tech sector friends going way back. You get into the carbon pipeline situation. He's made a lot of friends in the oil, gas, and coal industry on supporting what they want, whether or not that makes sense financially or fiscally. Uh, and then you look at his approach on things like the flat tax, taking a very strong stance on that, embracing Grover Norquist's Americans for Tax Reform approach to that issue. 10 years ago, the idea that a North Dakota governor would embrace Grover Norquist would be laughed at, but now it's just a normal course. And it's good policy, of course. Corollary to that, he's taken a strong stance on reforming the pension plan situation in North Dakota, which has been uh, a can that's been kicked down the road for a decade or more now. And that correlates to Social Security and long-term national debt issues. And so there's a lot on the fiscal side, there's a lot of things that make sense to your theory of him getting active in Iowa. I think that the weaknesses that he will have is that he has kind of pandered or laid down on some other issues. When you embrace the carbon neutral concept, uh, you kind of have this inclination that he's going to lean a little bit more to the left, at least on the social and those type of issues. But when it comes to social and cultural issues in North Dakota, he's either embraced full Trumpism or he hasn't taken a stance. And I think that could hurt him with a lot of the types of people that he would be targeting after Iowa, as certainly after Iowa. And so he's kind of taken this approach of trying to be too many things to too many people, and it's gotten him into these personal grievances with certain legislators and Rick Becker and that sort of thing. So going forward, it will be interesting to see if anything manifests out of this and what might change in his tone.
Well, what I think is interesting is when I got the call or the message from the gentleman's Iowa, who surely would know exactly what the poll's about. And we had George McGovern, who ran for president, was the Democrat nominee. Tom
Mhm.
Daschle ran from South Dakota. So there's two South Dakotans. Hubert Humphrey was the Democrat candidate from Minnesota. So it's not, I don't think, far-fetched. America is maybe getting ready for a North Dakota type guy. But what's interesting is one of the questions was about Bill Gates. You're favorable, unfavorable to Bill Gates. And I think that the tech sector, we saw the influence they had in the 2020 election, whether it was Facebook, Google, um, Twitter. Now, obviously, Elon Musk is there, so that's changed a little bit. But at the same time, they're looking for a darling. And your environmental comment about where Burgum's gone, he's kind of joined governors on this ESG initiative, little Trumpism. But but he seems to be buying into it as well. So he kind of is taking bites out of the apple on different ways of looking at it, I think. And that, I think, to your point, being a little bit to everything, it will be a detriment if he does get in the race for president.
Yeah, on ESG, he's taking both sides essentially. On the one hand, he has embraced the view of the coal industry and the oil industry to oppose these ESG approaches to investing and getting the state out of funds that might do that, which is not even really possible at this point because so many funds use that as metrics and so many companies use that as a metric to sell themselves to the market. And then corollary, you've got the carbon pipeline, which is just a big taxpayer boondoggle that wouldn't exist without the 45Q tax credits. It's a basically a handout to the Harold Hams of the world that have invested into it, and so he's kind of trying to play both sides while sounding moderate on the carbon neutrality side, and not necessarily embracing the climate change mentality, but at least not portraying himself as a full-blown denier.
So when we come back, there's been a lot of assumption Governor Burgum was running for a third term, which he may do, but he, running for president is definitely appears to be possibly on the table. We've been talking to Dustin Gawrylow, founder of Policy Matters. When we come back, we're going to look at some options of who would be running for governor if Governor Burgum does not run for re-election. This is Gary Emineth, Legislature Today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Wall of Honor pays tribute to local individuals from across the state of North Dakota. On digital indoor billboards, these heroes of the past and present are prominently featured with a photo, name, and their branch of service. Our funding is made possible by donations and advertisers like you.
As a veteran and as a board member, I couldn't think of a better way to help remember the service and sacrifice than celebrating and supporting the Wall of Honor.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Improve your home or business with services from Zaka Remodeling and Construction. Whether you need windows or doors repaired, replaced, or installed for your residential or commercial property, Zaka Remodeling and Construction can help. Our local and family-owned business offers flexible hours and over 10 years of experience in the industry. We are your local Pella expert. Pella is rated #1 in highest quality and innovation by homeowners across the country. Feel confident when you choose Pella and Zaka Remodeling. Contact us today for a free estimate. Zaka Remodeling and Construction.
Welcome to the start of Main Street, the main medical building located at 315 Main, downtown Minot. The unique shops inside offer body and mind healing, a safe haven for mothers-to-be, mixed martial arts, hair salons, massages, counseling services, and much more. Also, keep a special lookout for a brand new Jamaican-inspired restaurant opening this fall. Take a stroll inside the main medical building and uncover the unique shops and experiences that lay within. Discover the start of Main Street at the main medical building today.
It's time to get educated, people.
And that's just what we're doing on our new show, Educated. Every day we bring you the stories from inside the classroom that mainstream media won't cover.
So stay educated with us. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on BEK News or anytime online at BEK.news.
Welcome to Dakota Cowboy, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust. I'm your host, Wild Bill. The character and legacy of the American West comes to life. We'll strive to give you a glimpse of the rich history. I've seen the toughest cowboys in the state of North Dakota. I've had a front row seat to those whose passion has been the preservation of history.
Dakota Cowboy, presented by Dakota Community Bank and Trust on BEK TV.
Welcome back to the Legislature Today. I'm your host, Gary Emineth. We've been talking about the potential of Governor Doug Burgum putting his hat in the ring running for president of the United States. We have Dustin Gawrylow in studio with us today, from one of the founders of Policy Matters and also a potential candidate, with his name being placed in to fill the vacancy of Mark Splinkowski as city commissioner in Bismarck. Dustin, so let's say the governor does decide to get in the ring and run for president of the United States. There's going to be a scramble for that governor's seat. And what do you think happens? Where do you think that shakes out?
Well, I think that timing wise, he would have to come in top 3 in Iowa for that process to go beyond February 1st. And if it doesn't go beyond February 1st, I would assume that he would run again. If somehow he was in the top 3 in Iowa and it went on to New Hampshire and the other states, there's still plenty of time, by the time the state convention comes around. And, he could always skip the convention and just go straight to the primary as the sitting governor. So he doesn't even have to go to the convention. That would make it very interesting for guys like us. But it certainly is a potential, but, I wouldn't put any money on it unless Doug Burgum's giving me money to put on it.
So, okay. And, well, he's put plenty of money fighting Republicans in other races, which creates a problem in North Dakota. I think a lot of people have been fearful of his money. And Bill Gates has put money into his fund, et cetera, as we've seen it over the last couple of years, significant. And, if a PAC comes together and decides to say, we're going to put $100 million, some big money, and Bill Gates and the gang could do that without ever affecting, it'd be a rounding error. Yeah. He could be a major force, and he may not build enough momentum in Iowa, but he might. He's a Midwesterner. And what's interesting about Iowa is I've kind of heard it referred to as kind of the Florida of the North, because a lot of people have abandoned Biden. And with supposedly, what happened with President Trump and what's going on with him, he's got a lot of battles to fight. And Burgum could see himself. I see Burgum as more of a Rockefeller Republican. I don't see him as a conservative. And, he would play to that money, Wall Street money. I think he would play well to the tech sector. And that's a force with a lot of capital, which if you got enough money, you can play ball. I would think in that category. So
I think that, from a fiscal conservative standpoint, he's got a better claim to that title. Not necessarily so much on the spending side, but on the tax and large scale reform side. And when it comes to national issues, traditionally, people that run as conservatives, their spending practices back home don't come into play. It's how they're positioning on the big issues like entitlements, Social Security, overall tax policy. Then you get into the nationalistic issues, and right now, with Russia, China, that's going to be a big deal. The split in the Republican Party right now over Russia is fascinating because, I look at the policy that we have right now in the country to basically spend some money to send weapons to the Ukrainians and hopefully bleed the Russians dry. A lot of Republicans don't like that. I view that as being a continuation of the Reagan policy that spent the Soviets into bankruptcy. And so, that's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of Republicans that are hawks on China, but not so much so on Russia for whatever reason, even though Russia's got a long-standing history of being the bad guy. And certainly now with the international court coming out and declaring Putin to be wanted for war crimes, that's going to put a lot of Republicans on the spot to decide if they want to be viewed as being sympathizers to Russia. And I think that that's not going to be a good position for very many Republicans.
Well, I do think that the polling information from my friend in Iowa, that actually the one that took the poll that he was called on, specifically referred to Russia and China, understanding national policy issues. It also framed him as the family mortgaging, the family farm to start a small tech startup. It was very specific to build brand awareness of who he is, what he's about, but also to understand people where they're at in policy issues and what Iowa's mean, so that he would be able to craft the appropriate message to. And we know he knows what to do with social media because he's has the capacity to do that. So let's say he does get in, and let's say he's not the candidate. What do you think stack out? I heard Congressman Kelly Armstrong has been positioned himself even to make a run for governor in 2024. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kevin Kramer to make a run at it because I think he's always expressed interest in it. Have you seen other people out there that you've heard rumors about that might be looking at other offices? Because if Kelly ran for governor, we got a vacancy in the congressional seat as well, and a lot of people are saying behind that is John Hoeven is he kind of done after this? Everybody's kind of beginning to position themselves for these next big openings.
Yeah, I've heard the name Tom Campbell pop up in relation to the governor's office too. Obviously, we know what happened last time around when he challenged Kelly Armstrong. There's a pretty well established, at least at least Tom Campbell's established it as to what happened with Harold Hamm and all that. But I think that maybe he makes a run at the House seat again. You're going to see a lot of these second tier folks at the statewide and legislative level looking at those races. So, shakeups are always good. It would be certainly advantageous for something like that to happen in order to make it so that we have a little bit of a shakeup. I've also, of course, heard that ultimately Burgum would like to be in that U.S. Senate seat that Kramer has. So, it can go 16 ways if things get interesting. I think that overall, right now, looking at the situation, you've got, I would not put my own money on anything other than the status quo, really, because a lot of this stuff, unless what you are suggesting that $100 million in the tech pack or something pops up and drops a bomb in Iowa to make him competitive there all of a sudden without doing the long established back work on building up the base there, it's going to be an issue. And then I'm sure that the reason that the Bill Gates question was in that poll was because he's not a popular character within conservative ranks, and Iowa is generally more conservative than it is liberal. I mean, frankly, I would assume that if New Hampshire was closer, he'd rather start in New Hampshire because they've got a little bit more libertarian leanings. He can play the social moderate and get away with it easier there. Certainly, if you were still around, come Super Tuesday in California, I would say he would do very well there, obviously, because I would assume that the tech folks would really do a push out west, and maybe if Trump's not in the race or in jail or something, there could be a situation where we see regional candidates like the old days, where you've got like 3 or 4 different candidates that do really well in their regions, but nobody really has a national consensus, and then it becomes a jockeying thing, and that's a lot more entertaining for guys like us too.
Yeah, well, I think the challenge that is before Republicans is what to do with President Trump and how that plays out, because I mean the old saying was he could shoot somebody in Manhattan on Park Avenue, and that nobody, his followers,
that's his saying.
Think about that was his saying. It wouldn't matter, And I mean, the poor guy, I don't know how he gets out of bed every day and fights these battles where they have attacked him continually. And you look at, I mean, I don't want to get in Hunter Biden's laptop, but you look at the Stormy Daniels thing and you compare it to the Bidens, you're going like, okay, and so the average American is just really not trusting the media. They're struggling over the DOJ and the FBI. And, people have always had this mentality that all politicians are corrupt anyway. So, that's what Europe's totally come to that. And America's always following a little bit of that process. And so I think it'll be interesting to see where that shakes out.
Yeah, I think that the idea that they're going to prosecute him over the Stormy Daniels thing is absurd. And I'm not a big Trump guy. Of all the scandals, I think that the classified documents is probably the strongest issue in case for conservatives who consider themselves national security focused. But then we look at all the other folks that have been found with classified documents, and it's kind of this is just how things work type of deal. And I think that the prosecutors have certainly helped him. I joked on Facebook that I could see if they do arrest him, I could see Trump voluntarily not posting bail and sitting in jail for a few weeks just to grind to milk it a little bit more, and basically put himself up as a martyr. And with his hardcore people, that'll go a long ways to getting them motivated.
Well, the other thing is, I read this morning, I think in the Wall Street Journal, that he would, if he does get arrested, that they would have to turn him over to the Secret Service. They're not going to like throw him in a cell.
Right.
So the Secret Service will protect him, and rightly so. I mean, if this is unprecedented what they're doing, and it doesn't surprise me if people get wound up about it, because they should, because this is wrong things that they're doing, and they've been after the poor guy the day he came down the escalator in 2016. And it's been a tough uphill.
Well, and they thought that he was one of them, all those years when he was giving money to Democrats, up until 2012, when he went in favor of Romney. He had a long history of going both ways, but probably leaning more Democrat with his money. And so, they thought that he was with them, and then he turned on them, and then they turned on him, and he doesn't do anything halfway. It's all or nothing with Trump.
Yeah, I've been shocked at his. I think I read an article from can't remember the lady that I forget her name, but the point was, she said he goes 24/7. This guy gets by in 2 to 3 hours of sleep, and the high energy that goes with, and the candidacy that's required of someone, energy that goes with it. And so I've looked at Governor Burgum. He's a high energy, he's fit, he's healthy. And so I just thought, policies for someone to keep an eye on this session to see where the governor goes on some of this stuff would be interesting. And as North Dakotans got behind Carson Wentz, they all became Eagle fans,
Right.
So North Dakotans love to see North Dakotans do well. So Dustin, thanks for joining us today. This is Gary Emineth with the Legislature Today. We air Monday through Friday at 8:30. Sundays at 9. Thanks for watching.
BEK News is your leader in local. BEK specials and live information for you. Original programming. Exclusive local sports. BEK is local for you. Uncensored topics and uncensored opinions. Unapologetic politics, where all sides are represented. Full episodes online anytime at BEK.news. All in one network. Your leader in local, BEK News.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-268-8193. That's 1-800-268-8193. Or visit idpolice.com. So call 1-800-268-8193 now.
Come on in to Pipe Dreams, where we help make life a little bit lighter. Browse our huge selection of incense and candles. For natural pain relief, we have CBD tinctures, gummies, and creams. Or ask about our selection of quality kratom, a natural herb used for anxiety, pain, and alertness. Find all your smoking accessory needs, plus high-end cigars, pipe tobacco and hookah, and unique posters and tapestries. We have the lowest prices around at Pipe Dreams, your one-stop hippie shop located on the corner of South Broadway and Minot.